we're live.
We're live.
Devonte, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yes.
This is fun too because we literally we're just like going back quickly this morning, and here we are, 5-6 hours later. And honestly, I mean, we've only met once at the space, one time, very quickly. But I think you probably have this effect on a lot of people, very interested by you. And I'm very happy. And then today when we were just kind of going back and forth, I was like, yo, like, come on. I got a lot of questions for you. So I'm happy to hear, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And so I told you a few seconds ago, is there a little tidbit, a little story, a little something the world doesn't yet know about Devonte?
It took me a moment to think about it because I feel like I'm an open book in many ways. Some things I keep to myself, but at least my story has been told, and we'll get into that later, but it's been told in other ways before. So you said something that's not out there. And it would make, so what came to mind is something that's kind of recent. So recently, a lot of people assume that I became a mentalist, a mind reader, via my parents, because that's maybe how you become a mentalist or a mind reader. I didn't learn through them. As a matter of fact, my dad at the age he is now becoming a mentalist. He is now honing his skills, which I've told him is going to take him, a lot of time. And he's like, okay, whatever it takes. And he has spent like months in his room just working out the basics and the beginning of, it's been very interesting.
Wait, so, okay. Because the one thing that I remember from our conversation last time was I had asked you how one becomes a mentalist, and you gave me a very vague answer in terms of like, it's like you have kind of like someone you learn from.
Sure.
So then
you have a mentor, somebody that...
A mentor, that's what you said. So then in this case with your dad, like, are you his mentor?
Exactly. So you basically, he's cutting all kinds of, lines because he's my dad. And so, and I've been also very hesitant to sort of like introduce him to things and first and foremost, it still stands. So what I said about mentalists, I think that there's one is born with an inclination to do this kind of work. And that usually shows up not in the same way every time. Some people, it shows up different for many people. A simple example, different meaning some people are more, they want to be out there on stage. That's the kind of who they are. And there's people with this kind of, let's say, inclination and same sort of, let's say, abilities that are not so, they don't want to be out there. So that's not their thing. Their game is not to put on a show or put on a thing about it. So anyway, my dad, I believe, does have what it takes to do it. It's only that he's taken on a more traditional career paths. He was a lieutenant for the fire department and so on and so forth. And so I think that, it's interesting now to see his life sort of,
No, we'll get into like all of it, but like, is it realistic for him to be a mentalist? Like, how is one deemed final stage mentalist?
If he was here, he'd probably want to like stop me and say, "Look, I didn't say mentalist." So maybe and maybe I have to be careful with the words here because they matter. So he specifically wants to get into astrology. He wants to specifically get into something that mentalism is a very also vague sort of big boxed word. It's not a great word. You're trying to encapsulate a lot of different disciplines and studies and ideas and theories.
What's the definition of mentalism? Let me see if
it's basically the magic of the mind. So it's categorized as a big box, like the illusion of the mind or anything, whether it's a magic trick of the mind or
on Google it says, now I don't know if you would disagree with this. It says a magician who performs feats that apparently demonstrate extraordinary mental powers such as mind reading.
I would believe so. I would say so.
But like, do you consider yourself a mentalist, a magician, both?
Both, for sure.
So which one, are there any terms that you don't like to be called?
Nah. It doesn't matter. None of it all matters. Because once you know what it actually is, then it's like, oh, okay.
So wait, when did you know what it actually was? How many years into the study?
How long I knew what magicians were, or
Well, I guess what age, let's start from the beginning. What age were you first interested by anything that has to do with this realm?
so it's a good question, but I say it's always been parallel. But it's different. So one interest was the idea that one can do supernatural things, right? As a kid. So this is imagination, just supernatural abilities. And being intrigued by that. So the idea of watching Matilda when I was a kid, right? And she's moving things with her minds. I didn't see her as a magician. She wasn't doing a magic trick. Eventually I would see a magician. I didn't get to see maybe a magician until the age of maybe just around 9, maybe, right around the time that I always say this is when I got involved into this. So magic all the way gets the credit. 100%.
So then at 9,
and pretty much any mentalist that's a mentalist, not every mentalist, but most mentalists will have to say they became a mentalist through magic, but not all mentalists. Some people just directly went into mentalism.
so not all magicians are mentalists.
100%, yeah. Most magicians are magicians. Mentalist is a very small category.
But are all mentalists magicians?
So you understand how tricky this question is. In the world of magic and mentalists, they have this argument. So
okay.
Yeah, so I'm not very worried that whether I have the right answer. It's like it's debated on both ends. But I think that if anyone is the thing is that magicians, if you really want to get even your traditional stage magician comes from a history of magician. That's not where it started either. So what is this word magician? What do we? So are we all saying that magicians are you talking about like your clown, like the magician? Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about, so magicians have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. So what do we, not thousands of years maybe, but hundreds. Well, maybe thousands. Depends. Well, but yeah, so like that. So I think for sure, magic is a big word, and I think it's been dumbed down. And so sure, if somebody's gonna only see it as like, oh, you're just doing a card, it's like, okay, see it then, and then you then explain.
Okay, so you're 9 years old, and then what happens at 9 years old?
I see a magician. This is the first time I see actual, traditional magic, what we call like just, a prop, like an illusion, like something you put your hand in and it looks like it's gone. You know what I mean? Like just a trick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm at a summer camp, and that's what happened. Well, specifically, it looked like a blade went through the like it looks like so this lady puts her hand and it looked like a blade. I knew who the teacher was, so I knew she wasn't like a special assistant. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, how is this even possible? And so that just gets me talking about, this thing that I saw, and my dad hears me and he goes, okay, I have an idea. There's this shop that I pass, on my way to work in the city. It says abracadabra. Maybe they have something, maybe a book, something. And that's where he ends up taking me. And they were closed the day we ended up going. They had a new place, and it was this new abracadabra had now went from being this like small shop in the village at the time, I think. And I guess they couldn't really, I don't know if they couldn't pay the bills or whatever the case is, they wanted to expand. And so they bought like this big costume shop. Now they're known as like the big abracadabra New York City, like costume shop. You can't like just show up on Halloween. There's like a line down the block. It's a huge now known costume shop. But that shop in the back till this day is a magic shop or a magic area. But back then it was much more prominent. That's where a lot of the guys hung out.
Okay.
What guys I'm talking about? The guys that write the books on all this kind of stuff that we all trickles down and ends up becoming the thing that some guy does at a party. But then you start tracing that and you go and you find, oh, it came from this guy, and this guy, oh, it gets a little deeper, and then he learns from this guy, which then goes into, and so then those doors are not as easily open to just the guy that walks in.
So then, like for you, like, are you allowed to say who your mentor is?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's not. It's
not like a secret.
It isn't. It wouldn't be a secret. No, I have many mentors. Is the first answer. So there's not one mentor, but there's
many
many
mentors.
mentors.
Do you consider mentors? People do you consider mentors?
I would say there's two people that I'm really influenced by, that I've been taught by directly, and that I followed most of their work. It'd have to be very similar to David Blaine, believe it or not, but it's Danny De Ortiz and from Spain, and Ossie Wind from New York, and they have both been such great students of the art. Both magicians, both card magicians.
Okay.
But Devonte, what the hell does that have to do with mentalism or anything?
Right.
These two men and their like card magic to them is what they love to do. But their knowledge of what they could do and what they are not wanting to, you know what I mean? It's then they leave that for us, and then we will take, that gladly take what they have in their mind and run with it. But I mean, they are also geniuses with a deck of cards. I mean, they do more than a card trick. You would have to see them. So Aussie Wind right now, just a plug for him. He's actually in New York City. He has a show right now presented by David Blaine. It's called David Blaine Presents Aussie Wind. And yeah, that's been running for a while now. They've been just reinstating it. So that's one. And the other guy's from Spain, Danny De Ortiz.
And like, I don't know how much you're allowed to reveal, but like, what are conversations like with you and a mentor?
Mostly all theory with me and my mentor. So that's what they're really mentoring me on. So what is the theories that we're talking about? Theories as far as effects, and mainly the interactions that we have with the people that we've come across and how we feel that we can get, a certain effect, let's say, across in a more just in a more intentional way. So whatever the intention is, we talk about self-reflecting on who we're being in the moment when we're doing what we're doing. We're talking about where we're taking this thing that we're doing. So I mean, we're just getting deeper, much more refined than just like what do you say? How do you do this? This is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is I already know what I need to do. It's more about how do I take this and develop it more.
But so it's never like, so is it ever like them teaching you a trick?
Never really. Not really. Of course, not a trick, but no. They teach me through their tricks are almost like hidden.
Is trick a bad word in magic talk?
It can be. I think for sure. Again, but I've seen the debate go back and forth. Some magicians say, "Well, don't use the word." I think it's all language. Like I actually don't. I'm not married to any of this because I think feelings and emotions and all that and experiences mean much more. So like, just see it and you tell me. So I think trick to some people, it's the only word they have. So
Right.
that's what they relate to.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
agree.
so then here comes some guy who's studied the word trick and understands the distinguishing factor between a trick and an illusion. It's just like, well, not everybody knows that, bro. So trick, I don't get offended by. But yes, specifically, like if I'm speaking amongst my friends, then we understand the difference between if you're calling something a trick versus if you're calling something this or sleight of hand, or if you're calling it.
Do you feel like some magicians or mentalists or illusionists are like too commercial where they're away from the art itself? Like I don't know, I'm trying to think of actually I recently, when I was in Vegas, I think a year ago with my buddy, we saw what's his name, David Copperfield.
Okay.
And that feels very commercialized, right?
Okay.
Like I don't know, have you been to one of his shows?
Sure.
Okay, so so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And it's pretty cool, but it feels like it's very much like, granted, of course, like good for him, like for the money, but he's still doing unreal things.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I don't know, how's that? How do you weigh the commercial and the money side with like the actual art, or does it not matter?
I want to give this cannabis related to this like cannabis industry that I've been sort of studying. It comes out of nowhere, but it's very similar in the sense that there's so many ways to do it, man. And there's the commercial big, and then there's proper ways to do that. Right? And so what Copperfield has done, to say that it's not art, anybody in the industry would be wrong, right? Because he is like the OG. But yes, of course, at that level, you also are not doing certain things, but that's the cost of being at that scale. So, but we can also talk about guys, let's say, that have gone that scale, that have done it the wrong way, maybe that have kind of not put any art in it. So we can talk about those guys. And let's say those guys are the guys that could afford illusions. So illusions were, for the most part, and illusions, again, categorized by me,
Right.
is very, or if I'm talking amongst my friends, what we mean by illusions are very specifically, for the most part, props on stage that you pay thousands and thousands of dollars for. They're going to do things that you can't even imagine, right? You can disappear on stage, you can appear on stage, you can fly on. I mean, they kind of do it, it takes you to bring it to life, but it's illusions, right? Like, So yeah, so that's stage illusions, right? I mean, that's been any masked magician show will show you what that looks like, right? And from the old school tricks of like vanishing an elephant to the new ones, vanishing, let's say, a plane, whatever. It's an illusion. So that's there, but an illusion by itself is just an illusion. What we would call a trick. So a trick is very dry. It's very like, you know what I mean? This is a trick, right? This is
Right,
like,
right.
you know what I mean? And tricks are good. Like and so you asked me earlier, what do we talk about with my mentors? We talk theory. We talk about the levels of a magician, right? What is the first level is the trickster, right? The trickster is what every magician starts off as. It's the let me fool you, right? Let me make you feel like, gotcha. And that's where we all start when we reach this level of like understanding what we're up to. And the next level above that is when you realize like, okay, I can do more than just trick you. I can actually now learn that like I can take you somewhere. Because the manipulation can either be to trick you or it can be to get you somewhere. And now I can go deeper into where I've taken this art, which is leaving people a little different than I met them.
Is there, well, maybe this is like giving away the work, but like, are there certain traits you look for in certain people that you're gonna?
No, at all. And I know okay, the answer is no in the way you're asking it. I'll give a distinguishing when yes. No in the sense that there isn't a person that I'm looking for or there isn't a person that I'm avoiding. Ever. But if I'm doing a show where I'm trying to create a certain vibe at a certain time and I want to make a specific moment sad, let's say, versus more funnier, well, then I might choose somebody that's a little bit more upbeat for the happy moment and a little bit more just calm and relaxed for this, for the thing where I want to get a little more serious. So yeah, there I'm looking. But if in that same moment somebody says, could you switch it? Yes, it does. It's irrelevant to what I'm doing.
So does the work you do, does it specifically target maybe the common denominators that all humans have? Because we're all obviously different.
Yes.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
So like there's some things about humans that are all the same.
Yes.
No matter which 7 billion of the 7 million people you
Yes.
Are you allowed to reveal what those are or no?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the easy one is like I don't know the number of all the valuable sort of like human traits. That's it. That's the ones. I mean, all of those. Your
What's the range? I don't even know it.
I've heard it's up go like I feel like it's up. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's like up to 4. I've heard at least like 40.
And like, what are some of those traits?
Are just like jumping to conclusions. Is just like something that all humans will do. Thinking you're right. Just like a lot of these just things that we all do. And some of us think, oh, but I don't. Most of us do, but I don't. Yeah, sure you don't.
So like in a way, would you say that magicians are master manipulators?
Yes, that is why that's stage 1. So that's why we're all magicians, right? So yeah, okay. But if that's what you're gonna think, that's all it is, and you're the one that doesn't get it, right?
Are there ever like people in like your personal life that get skeptical of you because they know that you have this?
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Really?
Yeah, it's
like how so?
Just like, well, not anybody that's super close, because then that means at this point they would have grown up with me and they've known me. But people that I've, let's say, met or that I've come across with, like for example, there's people that have had questions of like, you right now, matter of fact, you are an example. Right before this started, you went and got coffee.
Yeah, because I was like, just so people know, since we did this on super short notice, I couldn't get my producer in here, but I went to get coffee with Cozy over there, and and I was thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, yo, I don't know. He's like, he could be like just putting some shit in the air and like figuring something out in the studio. But I was like, probably not. But then I'm like, I don't know. I feel like maybe that's part of his like show. Like, I don't know.
Now you're questioning yourself.
And then I'm questioning myself. And then even like, I think the thing too is, and I wonder if you feel this, like people when they're either they know they're gonna see you, or they're like in front of you already, they probably try to like hyper turn on their senses to like see like even when I was looking at my phone, right, with my passcode, right, I'm like, yo, don't only Face ID, Because just in case he wants to do like some passcode thing, only Face ID.
That's funny. Yes, all of that. But all of that answers the question you asked me earlier, which is how predictable are we? Now, the answer is you did everything as predictable as what, right? Because it is the most predictable to be skeptical, right? The skeptical person would just, like this is idea that like, it's like, here's the perfect magic trick. You want to talk about magic, just basic trick? Here's a basic trick. If you want to like make believe just make believe you're hiding it in this hand, right? And even if you really have it in this hand, but just if you make believe and you do such a bad job at it, what they'll do is that they'll think like, oh, I caught him, I got him. The confidence they get from that, right? So by the way, con is you work with somebody's confidence. That's why the con works. So a con only works by putting you now think you're ahead of me. You came thinking that by you, that's how it's going to be solved. And so not only did you make yourself even more predictable, it's like you are now falling into it. You know what I mean? You're walking yourself into that. The person that is not predictable is actually the hardest person to even actually somebody that's actually super open. I don't want to work with them a little bit because they're actually not being themselves. They're sort of over trying. And they're actually not. I don't know they don't even know what they're doing. Being skeptical is predictable. You're gonna hide. If I say this, you're gonna give me a response to go this way. I expect that, but so like that.
But do you know, okay, so when are there certain tricks that you...
Let's use effects. I'll introduce you to the word effect.
Okay, why do you like the word effect more?
I think it encapsulates several things that don't just have to be tricks. Because when I hear tricks, again, speaking, if we're just talking, amongst people that I feel that would know, if I was talking to my friends, I would want to know, like, which trick is this? Is this a trick or is this an effect? Like, so, but go ahead.
Maybe in reality, it is. It's a like psychological effect.
Yes.
Like, what's your definite? When you say effect, what does that mean to you?
I don't think I'm reading too much into it. I mean, I just mean an effect, and I'm utilizing the general part of the word of just to bring in.
I see what you're
whether
saying.
It's a magic trick or this. But go ahead. But you can distinguish. I think what you were trying to distinguish is like a trick versus something else, right?
Well, what I was curious about is, are you able, or do you make yourself open and willing to do all of your plethora of tricks at the same time, like on demand? Like if you're, say, doing a show or doing a party or an event, right?
Would I do mentalism and then a card trick, let's say, or something like this?
Like if somebody on demand is like, figure out the passcode on my phone.
Gotcha. So the magic can almost always be done that way. Mentalism almost always can't be done that way. So with mentalism, no. I mean, a little secret that I can maybe share is that I can create the illusion that that's the case. But then that's where my magic helps. You know what I mean? I can create the illusion that you feel that you're challenging me spontaneous, like, oh my God, I didn't know you were going to ask me to do this. And you would truly feel that way. But the answer is, the truth is, almost always it takes a certain amount of time for me to be with someone before I can do anything.
Like, for example, like I couldn't be right now, like, open up my phone.
No. You can, and I will, and I could do it right now, let's say, but you would now just be engaging into the process. What you're being technical is, would I just go and unlock it? Right now, no, right? Because I haven't connected, we haven't done anything, there's no way that I would just know. And I think that's what most people think. It's like, you're a mind reader, you already know what I'm thinking, right? And I think that's part of the sexiness of it and the coolness of it and the mystery of it. But the truth of it is, no, I don't just know what's in your mind right now.
Well, I think what's interesting is that as somebody who can understand that there's a process, right? I know that I don't know, right? I know that. So, and then I also know that, a lot of things, you see movies and you see this, and there's a fiction aspect of magic, right? That I think a lot of humans can acknowledge to a certain degree. But then there's also like your work that I know is real, but I know that there's a process that you go through that I don't know,
Yes.
right? So I think what I'm always fascinated about is how when I see especially all the videos of you or whoever else doing these effects or these tricks or whatever, is that we know that you know what's going on that we also don't know. And but we're still amazed. And that is what I think is always very like extraordinary, because I know like if we do something after, I'm gonna have no fucking idea what happened. I'm gonna be amazed, but it's almost weird knowing that I know that you have the answers, but I don't, and I'm still amazed. Does that make sense?
Why do you think it would make you less amazed?
I don't think it would make me less amazed. I just think it's interesting that a lot of people, myself included, I love everything that's to do with magic. Ever since I was younger, not in the sense of like your way where it got me to a point where I wanted to get involved, but I just always like I love watching those videos. I love watching like when I was going through your Instagram and I've gone through David Blaine's for many years and stuff like that. I love it, but I also know that you guys have secrets.
Yes.
And I don't know those secrets, and
Yes.
not a lot of people know those secrets.
Right.
And it feels supernatural, but like we should know objectively as like some smart human beings, it's not supernatural.
Yes.
Unless you agree.
I agree. Everything you've said is exactly right. But then the word supernatural is to me a feeling ultimately, right? This idea that something feels supernatural, or maybe not feel that. Well, how do you... we would categorize pretty simply. Would we say supernatural is something that science couldn't explain, let's say?
Yes.
And would we say that there's already things happening in this world that are supernatural, that no human, let's say, has control of, but just in general, from our perspective, seems to be supernatural in the sense that even science looks at it with a question of why, like, how is this happening?
Right. Like for me, like ghosts and like aliens and stuff like that is bordering that, right? Because like objective people can disagree, of course, but objectively, ghosts scientifically don't exist.
Right.
But like to some people, they might.
Right.
But like most can agree that they don't. Same
So,
for me, that's kind of similar with magic, where it's like we kind of know that magic, like the root word magic, I don't know if this is like a insulting, is not real.
So you're talking about a magic trick. So you're right. The reason there's no offense there is because I think we're displacing some stuff, but I do want to be specific.
Right.
And then we can disagree. I love this because I think, just so you know where my heart is, and people are surprised. Well, here's something people are surprised to hear. I'm actually really skeptical myself. Probably more skeptical than your average person or even your average skeptic. Like, anything I do, I am almost like immersed in it. And that's what I was most of my life, was a skeptic. Atheist, just a full-blown skeptic, reading everything I could. Sam Harris, the whole nine. I'm pretty well read on like skepticism, and like, funny enough, Penn and Teller are like the presidents of like the big skepticism community, and like magicians are very much part of why skepticism community even exists. Like, we were the ones exposing the psychics and the mediums. I say we because it is a community. You had the Harry Houdini, who had a Broadway show, and is most people don't know this, but half his show was dedicated to exposing psychics. And to the day that he died, he knew that psychics would exploit his death and exploit his wife, his widow, saying that they were going to bring him back to life and that they should pay him. And of course they did when he died. What they didn't know was that they had agreed on a word. And there was a word that only if it was true that they had connected, that some psychic, according to them, had said that they had reached them, because there were going to be many that were going to come out and say this, that he already had known this, that they should then know this word that him and his wife had agreed on. And of course, no one ever knew the word. And specifically the year afterwards. But
what was this word going to do?
It would just confirm, so if you truly are contacting the dead, if you are truly contacting my husband, then ask him to give you the word that we agreed on. And of course, no one could. This actually started because Houdini was a believer at the beginning. He actually wanted to believe. When his mom had passed, he had an almost obsessive relationship with his mom. He adored his mom. Would write her letters when he was on tour, the whole nine, every day. And when she passed, the psychics hit him, were telling him that they can reach his mom, they can speak to his mom. This was really in the golden era of the psychic mediums meeting and having these seances. This was the golden era of that. This was happening all the time. And one of the ladies would tell him that they were speaking to his mom, and eventually at the end, I think she said something like, Jesus loves you or something like that. And he puts his head down and he goes, you fucked up. Like, she was Jewish her whole life. Like, she would have never said that. And that's how he had exposed them for himself. And so with that vendetta in his heart, he would expose. So he would spend like the first 30 minutes doing first hour of his show, doing his amazing stunts and escape. And then after that, he'd be like, I'm going to do everything you've ever seen these fucking psychics do right now. And it's all fucking bullshit. And like, psychics are like, what the fuck is this guy doing, And so we go back to this, like, what do I think it should be called? So coming from that space, coming from, literally wanting to almost like police the space of like making sure no one's, James Randi, had $1 million offer for anybody that can claim anything supernatural. You know what I mean? So where is it that I stand? And this is a big question for me, probably even why I've avoided podcasts, because I've had to almost make sure that I've thought about these questions enough. Before I got serious into mentalism, I spent about a year, I want to say a year and a half, just contemplating on this. Where was it that I stood with this whole thing? What is this? What is it that I'm even doing? I don't even know if I've got the answer, but I surely have gone further than I was there. And what I've realized, it's like, oh, okay, I understand now. Like, there's a lot of things at play. There's a lot of disciplines at play. We're using sleight of hand. We're using all of it. And amongst this, all of these things, there's tangible things and there's intangible things. And the reason I know that is because I can take this magician or this mentalist and I could see them do the exact same thing, and I could see two people connect in different ways. And I could see different people have different effects. And I can have I could see the difference at least. And so I say that it's more based on the person and what they're doing. And so I'm doing all sorts of things. You know what I mean? Because my ultimate goal is to have an effect, not to convince you that, that you should pay me because I can speak to your mom or because I can unlock your phone. Or what I will prove to you, though, is that there are things you can't that you can't explain. And I'll do that without the use of sleight of hand or illusions.
See, that I think that's where I think the wow factor comes in the most.
Yes.
Like on the degree of like wow factor, like, if I see a card trick, I'm like, okay, wow. If I see, but I can also understand that you got, when I don't know how you got, that I think and that's I think exactly what you're talking about, is because like, with some tricks you can kind of maybe, as like someone who knows nothing, I can kind of maybe have ideas on how you got there. I don't know, but when I have no fucking ideas, that's when I'm like, wow.
Yes. Which is actually how my mentors all started with their cards, right? Tricks. Like, I had grown up watching card tricks, but these two guys were doing things with cards that just didn't make any sense. They weren't using any sleight of hand, right? Like, I was used to guys being quick and you're being fast and that's what the whole world is pretty much used to. Maybe this is me for the first time realizing maybe what I loved about them so much, which was, I'll never forget, Danny, as you're explaining what you're liking, it's like as if the first time I remember seeing Danny De Ortiz. I was in I want to say Guatemala. This was a big convention, Spanish, because he speaks Spanish. So it was a Spanish-speaking convention in Guatemala. He's from Spain. Flew out there. I flew in just to watch him. I'm in this big theater where it's only magicians, right? And so Danny fools magicians, right? So like, put that in your mind. He has a room full of like 1,000 of the top magicians, card magicians, and he is frying all of them. How you feel when you go, I don't even know where to begin. That's how we feel watching this man. He's not doing anything quicker than us. He's using our deck of cards. Like, how is he doing this? This doesn't make any sense. He's doing things that I can't even find them in any book. Like, where do I go to, what book does it say that you should know what the fuck like, this doesn't make any sense. That's what those guys like made me feel. And that's why I think, that's why I consider them, my driving, influence. So I want to leave people that way, which is, again, I think part of the tool that I use to leave people a little bit different than they were, which is I'm not just trying to wow you. I think the mental maybe jump is when you realize, like, wow, I don't have the mental resources to fully explain what just happened. And what I hope happens is there's a surrendering of whatever security you thought you had on knowing everything, which seems to be, when I was a skeptic, the goal. That's, we should know everything. But realistically, if you know anything, you know nothing. Mm-hmm. So I say that when you leave me, it reminds you again, you don't know everything. And luckily, I'm doing it humbly. I don't think I know more than you either. Mm-hmm. I'm actually doing it because I too was there, and I just understand it just as much as you do. That what you're watching doesn't make any sense. I know it doesn't make any sense. The same way that when Danny did the thing with it didn't make any sense to me. So I know exactly where that, and I feel that feeling is what I'm chasing, and I want to give people that. And I found that I can do that through mentalism more than I can do it with magic. Magic is very necessary in my life because it allows me to wow people online. It allows me to wow people in person. It's a very big part, and it's my passion since I've been a kid. It's how I got into this. It's how I could even, before I can start doing mentalism.
So how many magicians, also how do you consider yourself a magician? Do you have to
I think simply the line you cross is whenever you start doing mental magic. Whenever you start doing mental magic is anything amazing in the mind, right? That's when you've jumped the line of becoming a mentalist. When you've, for the most part, let the deck of cards go and you're not trying to do any more sleight of hand, that's when you're sort of jumping into that.
So how many magicians are there, an estimate?
A lot more than mentalists.
Right, that's what I was going to...
a lot more. 10 times more, maybe 50 times more, 100 times more.
So now...
I would say they've done a big... quote unquote big mentalism. Well, they've done a lot of conventions. Sometimes the big conventions will have some magicians that are trying to learn from the mentalists. So that it's very hard to see how many mentalists. There's a lot of interest in mentalism, but from this private mentalist groups that I can tell you about, that where the real mentalist courses are happening, they're filling very, very small rooms. And this is worldwide. These are guys coming in from Dubai.
How many do you estimate in the world? If you had to estimate.
Well-known, we know that there's only half a dozen well-known, respectable, on that we know out in the Darren Browns, the a Max Maven. I probably have a hard time, again, famous ones. And maybe even magicians is not, there's not a lot of famous magicians, Copperfield, Houdini, even less mentalists maybe, in all times. Living right now, look, it's very hard for me to put a number, right? Because I say, what am I going to say, 100, and there's going to be another that are going to be in Australia that I completely forgot about. They're like, dude, what about us? Where are your minds at? I don't know. There's I don't know the number. I know that it's a lot less than magic. I know that, it's not as easily accessible. And so that really shortens the list of the amount of people that do it at that scale. So I think it's about who's doing it at that scale.
So then what's the process to become a mentalist? When you say it's not as accessible.
I think that the kind of effects you're looking for when you're trying to do the kind of mentalism shows that I'm doing, and the kind of guys that I think I'm working with, you're looking for the kind of stuff you're not going into a magic shop. You're not looking for the magic tricks. You're not looking for the thing that here, press the button and then the thing does, the coin disappears. So then where do you learn it? And that question is what I want. I want the thing where I don't know. And then you search and you look and you find the guy who doesn't want to talk to anybody, right, who lives in Ireland, who only speaks to this guy, who then maybe might introduce you to show you this one thing, and he may only have a conversation and only give you a bit of it, and you may that. And we searched for that.
See, that's exactly how I kind of pictured it going, where it's you have to have very acute social skills, and your social awareness and your ability to navigate humans has to be extremely good. I think outside looking in, from based on what you're describing and a tiny bit of our conversation before, it sounds like to get into this, you have to be extremely curious. You have to, and you basically are on you're playing a game of Clue, where you're trying to you pick up a little something from this person, and then if they feel you as a human, it's probably a lot for them, gut feeling. maybe they'll introduce you to like some other guy.
Yes.
And then, but because like even in that, but it all feels very secretive. It feels
super secretive.
It feels like to outsiders.
Even
some
talking
people
about it
say
right
it's
here
culty.
feels super secretive. Like how much of this do I want to share has been a question the whole time on my mind. But I think that, yeah, I don't think I've said anything that's not out there.
But are there like different? Do you feel like it's culty?
We can have a whole. I did a lot of studying into like cults and just the mentality of cults and what is a cult and how do we distinguish cults. And look, so the answer from someone who feels that they've done a good month's Google worth of looking up cults. So I'm not an expert, but just looking up, and trying to just do my own study on like what is a cult. And I spoke to a guy named Robert Fitzpatrick, who is actually a renowned like cult expert. So he's been on CNN. So that's how deep I get into when I want to learn something. Like I contacted this guy who doesn't know who the hell I am, and I've asked him questions about cults. So what he explained to me, so from him explaining to me, he says, first and foremost, many things are cults. So what are you talking about? Apple is a cult, right? If you work at Apple, you might get a tattoo, right? And so so begins the cult activity. So I would ask him so he actually wrote a book on like cults, on like how to, what are the cult attributes. I think one of them is like a charismatic leader at the top. I mean, that's usually like one of them. The behavior changes in the members. What he taught me was the real question is not, are you in a cult or not, are you in a destructive cult, is what he would say, right? And so he said, at what point is it becoming destructive? So he said, unfortunately, there's certain sect of churches that are called. He's like, what do you want to call a cult, Devonte? You know what I mean? There's many things, how you look at it can be a cult. So I said, okay. So he said, you have to be careful, because the real question is, when does it become a destructive cult? When are you doing something? And by the way, just like, we had actually been speaking about multi-level marketing at that point, just to throw that in the mix. Like that was in the conversation of, is that a cult? And that's been obviously accused to be a cult. And that's actually that was the topic at hand. And so we were trying to determine, is that, a cult? And so to answer your question, Matt, do I think it's a cult? Probably, but not a destructive one. I wouldn't think so.
So to take you back, because we didn't go through the timeline, you're 9 years old. Like what's the process from 9 until now?
A lot, man. So much, so many different things. I mean, first, mentalism hasn't been a part of, at least the way it is now. Mentalism as an interest, as a wanting to do something supernatural, wanting to do beyond the magic trick, that's been a wanting as a kid. That's all it was. I don't know how to put that together. I don't know what that even looks like, other than a movie like Matilda. The magic shop allows me to actually do something that looks and gets a wow, right? To do a card trick and looks amazing. I mean, I don't think anybody thought I was supernatural, but I just think they were just giving me a wow. And I thought that was definitely great for a 9-year-old. By 9 years old, 10 years old, I was already doing kids parties. I mean, I'm in front of kids. So I'm now getting to do this in front of others, right? And not just learning how to run the magic trick, but how to run whatever, the situation, the people that were around me. And they were my age. So like a 9-year-old managing other 9-year-olds, is pretty crazy to me, I think. Or I remember that feeling of like...
Did you feel like a prodigy?
A little bit. I felt like, because my grandmother, she should come into the, I mean, you can't speak about me without speaking about my grandmother, who is the biggest influence in my life, who is the person that supports and drives all of this, who is the person who believes that there's more than just the magic. She is the opposite of the skeptic. She is, all the belief lives inside of her. The belief in me lives inside of her. I mean, it's sort of like, she's my angel, and she's still living. And we can get into her story, but just to give her, the platform she deserves. Here's a woman who was born in early 1930 in Dominican Republic, which is a dictatorship country at the time under Trujillo. Leaves a country in a small village, not in a city, lives in a village where with my grandfather, has kids, somehow convinces him to stay with the kids, which is, how do you do that? Because at the time, there's like this whole machismo thing. And she's like, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to figure things out. Comes out here, doesn't speak the language, has absolutely no family here, no connections, no nothing. And today, she's a multimillionaire with multiple properties.
Wow.
My grandfather unfortunately passed away. He never worked a job more than Nathan's Frankfurters on Coney Island. That was his job for 40 years. How did she do it? No college degree. You said earlier it's that you feel that mentalists have a way with people. She is the queen of people. She is doing effects on people that are not being clapped on because it's an effect like this. she's touched more people than I can count. I question, and now, you know, I try to, you know, reverse engineer who she is, how did she get where she is, and, you know, there was a sense of belief in her, a sense of belief that for most of my life, I've almost wanted to discredit. I wanted the skeptic in me, remember? I almost wanted to prove her wrong. And maybe in those years that I was in magic, I felt like, everything's a trick, you see? Like, I figured it out. I found the thing. But it was like the more I thought that, the less of the effect that I had. I could wow people, but I didn't have an effect, and I was losing the effect, and I didn't realize that I say that to have the effect I'm speaking of, which is a little bit less tangible than the wow that a trick gets, there's a sense of belief that one must have in what one is doing. Let me be clear. I don't think that what I'm placing the belief on is the process, and that there is no process, and that what you should believe is that what I'm doing is something that no human can do. Look, that's what you've told yourself. I didn't claim that. All I'm claiming is that at the end of this, there will be an effect that's much bigger than a wow of like a, you know, card trick and stuff. And it's an effect that's real, and that effect can be definitely you know, tested and tried, and, you know, and people, I say, feel different. I don't know how could it be tested, but, you know, maybe I don't want to corner myself there, but I feel that it can be at least viewed. You know what I mean? You can see, and you can talk to people that have seen the kind of effect that I'm talking about versus a wow effect.
So when you're when you're doing what you do, are you looking for what feels? Are you looking to feel something yourself?
Yes.
Like why do you do all this? Is it to wow others, or to wow yourself that you can wow others?
I think that at the beginning, when all magicians start doing magic, there's a sense of wanting to do it because of the notoriety or the attention that it might get you. So it's kind of that. So it's kind of like, wow, look how cool I am, and there's a lot of that for many years that I think that I had to sort of wash through or just go through. And we can get into that. You know, there was a period of time for years that I sort of went through my own mind and tried to find myself. I had a great mentor that wasn't a magician or a mentalist. He was a storyteller, and a director to a documentary that was done on me. And he would eventually ask me questions like that. Why do you do magic? Why? And eventually we'd realize that, yeah, it was a lot of ego. And then once I was able to get there, and I was able to sort of
How old are you
get
then?
over there, maybe 21, when I kind of realized like where, and it happened when I started working with a nonprofit organization called Magicians Without Borders. Up to that point, for sure, it was about like how it made me look and where the riches that it could get me, or where it could take me in the world. What happened at 21 when I started working in the nonprofit space, and it was no longer it wasn't a private jet anywhere. It was like, you know, however we can get to El Salvador, which was a third world country, to help kids. That's what we were doing. And then when I was there, the gentleman I was working with, Tom Werner, who founded Magician Without Borders, he had been performing for a lot of the kids, maybe teaching them some tricks here and there. I was like, look, I want to do something more. I don't know what it is, but I want to do something more. At the time, I had taken already, I had already gotten over the tricks part of magic. I wanted to do more with the trick. Can you do more? I mean, okay, wow, cool. What else can you do with this? So at the time, I knew that I could tell maybe stories. Maybe I could tell a story. Maybe I could tell something that actually says, what I'm saying will mean. So instead of saying, look, water disappears, maybe the water has maybe it has a symbol. And I began to tell my personal story. And we can get into that later of like, you know, just my own problems and stuff as a kid. And I said, I'm going to teach these kids how to tell their story with this magic trick. And that's what I did. And for years, I would go on to not just teach these kids how to tell stories with their magic that Tom would teach them, but I realized the impact that it had on them, the effect that it had on them. It had a really cathartic effect of like being able to be a kid who can do magic, tell your story, tell a story, have an influence on a person, you know, by saying the story. And the magic was just a means to an end. And where it could have or would have just ended as okay, cool, oh, that was cute, that was nice. There was a kid named Zumbita. And Zumbita had a very simple magic trick when I met him. He was already doing it. everybody knows it if you ever bought a magic trick or a magic case. It's the one that always comes in a magic case. It's a little vase. And it has a little like red ball, and you take off the vase and you take the little red ball out of the vase. You can put it in your pocket, and if you cap the vase again, the ball will always appear back, right? That's the trick, and it's like for a 5-year-old for the most part. This kid would eventually tell a story that's like has impacted the world at this point. Like it went on to be in a movie and stuff. And so he tells a story of one day waking up and he sees this kid crying on the street, and he asks him, why are you crying? And the kid says, the worst thing has happened to me. You wouldn't believe it. And Zubita tells the kid, look, you have to think a little bit more positive. These North Americans, look what they gave me. This little vase. And he puts out the little vase. This is his performance. He's now performing this in front of people. He says, these Americans, he's telling the story of this kid he meets. These Americans gave me this vase and they told me this story. You have to have love. See this little red ball? That's the love you have to have. And the kid grabbed my hand and he says, you don't understand. I've lost it all. I don't have any love. And he opens his hand and there's nothing there. And I didn't understand. So I just left it there and I spoke to him and I said, tell me what happened. And he says, my mom, she committed suicide. And he says, look, I know it's really tough. I know you can't see through it, but if you can believe, if you can have that magic in your heart, maybe you can find it again. And then he uncaps it and it's back. And then he closes it up and people are clapping. And then he says, the reason I know this story is because I was a little kid. See, you might think it's just a magic trick. But I know what it is. And there was a sense of where I was taking him with it. It was a sense of connection of the audience. And the magic was bringing their guard down. See, they thought they were watching a magic trick. They didn't think they were connecting with a kid. And as they connected with him, he connects with them. And Zubita was a good kid, man. I wish I could say that, he had this great life and we were able to save him from the bullshit that was going on. His fucking mom committed suicide because they were so poor. I worked with him for 6 years. We would stay in contact. When I got an opportunity to go to to Ireland to perform for Google, I convinced them to fly him out there, to get him a visa and get him out there and let him do this thing. And they did. And he's gotten to see so much. Actually, it was Peter that actually went out there. It was 3 kids, Marcella, Peter, and Zubita. There was many more kids, but these are the 3 kids that really stuck with us. Dozens more. Zubita being the youngest. Zubita would eventually go back home, and as much as we wanted to have this help him and utilize this to propel, he would fall victim of like gang stuff and still alive, but deep involved in the trenches and what does that have to do with mentalism? I was on the search for something when I was 21. I wasn't a mentalist yet. It's not what I was saying. I was saying that's when it changed. That's when I understood. You asked me, why do I do this? That's why I do this. To connect with people, to leave them different than I met them. And I have a variety set of skills to do that.
When you alluded to earlier about, I think part of the why being perhaps in your childhood or other reasons, do you do it for the young Devonte, or the young parallel to Devonte that like an individual that you're speaking about?
Yeah.
You're good.
Shit, man. It's been an amazing week, man, for me, because I've been all over. I've been really enjoying the fruits of my labor of the work, but the reason it's so emotional is because, you know, it is bringing me back to why we're doing this. And yeah, we do it for him. We do it for every kid like me, like him, like all of us that, you know, feel that we have something special, and the math or the science can't explain it. Doesn't the data doesn't say that you do, or and so it's up to you to break through. It's up to you to break through that noise and to break through the whatever the standard is, or whatever the belief is, or whatever that thought that I told you earlier, this certainty that you know everything, that you're so damn sure you know everything, this kid, or that there's so, you know, these assumptions that we make as humans, and we make them on other people and we make them on ourselves. So I do it to break both the belief of others and what they believe, you know, of kids like Zumba, but also for yourself, man. Just that, you know, that you owed yourself sometimes, you know, like, damn, there's no way. I know that there's no way. Now you don't know. And it's almost like just, yeah, so.
Do you feel like you've now been able to convince the young Devonte that there is a way? Or is that still the ongoing mission?
Yeah, that's the, you know, it's that's what I guess gets me so emotional, is because I've been, I said earlier, I'm the biggest skeptic, bro. It's like I'm living inside of this, like, and it's like the skeptic is being proven wrong all the time, and he wants to, like, but some of this stuff that we can't understand, and I get it. I understand why it's very important to not let that cat out of the bag too much, because there's people that will abuse of it. There's people that will utilize the fact that we don't understand anything to then say that they understand it. I'd be wary of those guys. I'm not here telling you I know more than you. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you both of us don't know everything.
Right. What's interesting is, in a lot of ways, to do what you do, you need to be confident, I guess, in the act, right? I would imagine.
Yeah,
because you're, you know, sometimes it's higher stakes. You're in front of whatever the situation might be.
Right.
People are expecting you to be the guy that they expect. So and you have to be confident that you can be that guy.
Yes.
But then I think what's so beautiful, and I'm grateful that you feel comfortable enough to be emotional, is I also see that you're human, and that the experiences of your life have brought you to this point, right? And now you and I are in front of each other. And that, I think, is also the beauty of why I do this, right? Is because you and I grew up differently, have different passions, different interests, yet we're right here, right now.
Right.
And so would you characterize the why as trying to prove the self-doubt, or maybe the lack of confidence you once had, or maybe currently still have? Because I think as humans, no matter the most confident humans in the world, always have some level of self-esteem, whatever, right? Or are you always further trying to better understand the why, even if you have an idea about what the why is, with stories like Zumba, right? With stories like a young Devonte?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm playing an infinite game and not a finite game. I think that I'm for sure doing something I'm never going to exhaust, which is absolutely just live up to my potential, which is, you know, an infinite game. But that capulates pretty much. That encapsulates, is that the word? Mm-hmm. What I want to do, which is that I want to, you know, I think I'm going to take this from somebody once said, you know, on my tombstone, I wanted to say all used up, you know, like everything that I could have done, man, I did it, you know. And what's the motivating factor? I think it starts from being grateful. I think so. My work with Zumbita and everybody else, and realizing that as much as I thought I had it bad, Zumbita had it even 10 times worse. And like, okay, there's a sense of gratefulness that came from that. As a matter of fact, my work with him would eventually lead me to do what I'm doing now, which is I had sort of falling into a moment of, self-realization at the time. I was 21, but I was doing a lot of nonprofit work. But I said, wait a minute, I have a dream. I'm telling these kids, follow your dream. Go ahead, Devonte, follow your dream. Well, what's your dream? Well, you want to take this worldwide. You want to take this thing. And then at the time, I was doing magic tricks. This is the only thing I had ever really practiced. So I said, do you want to take magic tricks all over the world? And I said, no, I know what I want to do. And I had seen stage mentalists connect with people the way that I knew that I wanted to connect with people. And the only thing that I could relate to that feeling was when I was 9 years old, was when, to that supernatural idea, those ideas that were beyond the magic tricks, were just an ability to have an effect on somebody that, like my grandmother had on me, very similar. And where it wasn't, just a card trick. And like I said, I would then eventually find, mentalism. But the mentalism I had found online just looked like bad magicians doing mentalism tricks, and then, I laughed because that's what all, any mentalist that hears that, that's how all, that's good, because that'll either you'll stop there and you kind of think like, oh, that's it. And then you walk backwards. And if you just keep walking and you keep walking and you keep walking, then things start opening up. And I find you can get into some really interesting stuff, like the stuff I'm doing, some of the other guys I've mentioned, which is to me the top tier sort of like the mentalist stuff that I like to watch, guys like, yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting too, from a psychological perspective, that you're skeptical, you're a skeptic. Everybody that either is on the receiving end, so let's say in a situation you're dishing out an effect, a trick, whatever, but you yourself are a skeptic. The person who's receiving it is a skeptic. This world, it's very easy to get lost and look at how dark and doubt and be skeptical about everything that has to do with the world. Yet, I think what I've concluded from this conversation is that you, in a lot of ways, with stories like Zumba and seemingly in a lot of ways paralleled with yourself, are trying to create hope.
Yes.
And I think that's like, it's beautiful in a way. It's like, it's a true, contradiction or paradox or whatever you want to call it. And that for me, if somebody asked me like, why do you think Devonte does it? Based on our conversation, that's probably the best answer I would give, is I think that you're a hope creator in the weirdest way to get there, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going through all these things of like, let me have this person doubt about what's real about not real.
Yes.
But the end goal is something far greater.
Yes.
That I'm sure, and I don't know if you're able to recognize it, but I'm sure that whether it's nonprofit work, like directly with like nonprofit work and trying to actually help people, or through organizations of helping people, or just via your day-to-day and what you do, you are instilling hope. And I'm sure that there's kids that watch your videos, or even adults, right, that see something and they're like, I didn't believe it, but now I do. And that sentence right there with a comma in the middle is kind of your work.
Yeah. It's a really good way to put it. Yeah. I would have never put it that way.
Like, I think that's what.
It's also cheesy if I came here and called myself a hope creator.
No, but it kind of is. But I think,
I would love that too.
But even you as like as a human, seemingly like, like truly, I can tell how much it means something to you to your core, right? That you can get emotional because it means that much to you, because of at one point in time, whether it was what you saw or what you personally experienced, was pain, was fear, was whatever. You would know better than I would, right? And you've touched on some of those. But the ultimate, like, this is the vessel to get to that better place.
Yes.
Like, is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. And one of the most supernatural vessels,
right?
To say the least.
Like, there's so like, and for the average human, right? Like, when I'm hopeful about things, I don't look at it through a magician or mentalist lens, right? And that's why I love having you on because now I get to see that in a different way. Or somebody that gravitated in a different route than I did, but ultimately we're all humans. We're all just trying to figure it out because who the fuck really knows?
Right.
It's a weird one.
Yeah. That, what you just said there, I think is, you asked me earlier, like, what's the thing that connects us all? I think that's a deeper, more interesting thing we all share, which is, we all came, no one knows why we're even here, right? Like, we're all just popping up and then we disappear, and we don't exactly know where the hell we're going. We know bodies are being left here, and there's a lot that science can explain, and thank God for it, because shit, there's a lot of things for many years that we were not explaining, and we were just like, what the fuck, people are dying, okay, oh, that's what that was, okay, got it. But that's it right there. You just found it. There's that, and that feeling, we all walk around with it, and it's deep down inside. And maybe if you live near a big city, you forget, because it just seems like everything's put together, and you've got it together. In the third world country, they don't get it. You get it. You get it. They don't get it. No, you don't get it. We all don't fucking get it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, your priest and your they're all of us, we're all just trying to figure this shit out, from, this big status billionaire guy to the really poor guy. And I've always said, in magic, similar to mentalism, they both eventually hit that vital key inside of all of us, which is that supernatural question of, where do we come from? Where are we going? What does this all mean? And that's what it's speaking to. And so where the hope comes from is, and I'd say people can almost talk themselves out of hope by believing, like, this is all the world means. This is what it is. And it's just like, you're so sure of it. And I don't think this is what life was. It's not supposed to be completely just sure. It's almost exploring, like, it's what it looks like. It's going somewhere from the, like, exploring it. It's making mistakes, obviously. And it's almost like correcting and moving along. And anyway, it seems that humans for sure are trying to make sense of what this all means, but the fact that we're all trying to make sense of it just shows that we're all the same. We're just trying to make sense of it.
But for you personally, does it scare you to know that you have no idea why or what we're doing? For some,
it humbles me, and yeah, scary in a way. Humble is a better way. I just think it's just like shrinks. It's kind of like used to sitting out, looking at the field up at the stars and realizing for once that, like, oh, you're just this dot in a dot inside of a big dick. So same thing, yeah, but with knowledge and the way that the world works, and thinking about that and saying, oh, in the same way that we are very small in the universe, your problems and your thoughts and this is also just a bit of the world, and so your problems are a part of that, and all of that.
Did you ever study? Did you go to college?
I didn't end up going to college. Went through high school, but not college.
Did you extensively ever study psychology or sociology at any point? Because I feel like it's very, like, what was your study? Like, what is that via reading, talking?
Via reading, everything. Just so that's also like my dad's. Where my grandmother, her influence on me was the spiritual healer. She was the belief, straight belief. I can't explain it. Just, she was praying over me and she would heal me. That there's no science there. There was just pure love, belief, connection. Eventually, I would then be more influenced by my dad, who would then say, oh, well, here, go learn about the placebo effect. And that's what grandma's doing. And we went deep, and we were able to, in essence, I felt like my dad had tried to teach me to be like him, which was a skeptic, to also re-engineer, like, what is it that, how, yes, she's successful, but look, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. Look, these are all things that can be explained. And I don't know where we were going with this, but being explained.
Well, like your I guess your passion for psychology, sociology,
came through my dad. So my dad's sort of answer to a lot of things were like, let's go to the sciences of the mind, let's go to psychology, let's go to philosophy. Right. And so then I was very obsessed with just like the mind, anything that had to do with persuasion. I remember learning the word persuasion at, I don't know, 8 years old. I love the word persuasion. To this day, I just like, you can persuade somebody. You can do something that's going to change the way that other person is going to think. Yeah. It was almost magical. That was the first, to me, persuasion is true mentalism. And it's not magical. It is magical in the sense that it's intangible, but it's it's real. I mean, we know that it's real. But so persuasion would be the first. So that actually has a connection to like sales and why I liked sales, because it was like a way for me to understand. I didn't like the cheesiness and the, and the way that people sort of take advantage of these things. But it was the first introduction to, building rapport. What the hell is rapport? Mirroring somebody. What the hell is that? You know what I mean? Understanding neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and so, so all the disciplines, and you start to see how they go off in their own worlds. Some use it for sales tactics, some use it for recruiting tactics, some use it for all sorts of stuff. So yes, so very deep into the psychology of the mind, reading books like Influence by Robert Cialdini. I mean, just anything I can get my mind and my hands on.
At what point in time did you consider yourself a mentalist? And like no longer somebody who was interested or by mentalism, but now had
2019. I was officially, I think, like I had crossed the line, I feel.
So it's never somebody, it's not like a culty ceremony where they say you are now a mentalist.
Nobody is going to come and tell you.
It's like a feeling.
Yeah.
Was it a moment?
I think once you can you can do your thing with just mentalism, and it's not magic, it's not card tricks, or you're not going to use then you're a mentalist, I say.
Do you remember what that feeling was like?
Yeah, I remember. I did a thing for a company, and it was marketing week for in New York City. It's a big week. All the big brands were there. Google was there, and all the big brands, and Will Smith, I remember, was there. This is before the smack, and that was the first time that I had done mentalism on stage. I was super nervous, and I had used the professionalism. I had basically used magic and my ability to do magic, because I did it for many years as like I did it when I was a teenager for kids' parties. Then I did the nonprofit work where I was still performing for the kids. But then I really wanted to get deeper into like how can you get inside of somebody's phone? How can you know a password and stuff like that? So that I would do maybe 3 to 4 or 5 years of just straight studying of mentalism before, like I said, 2019 was where I started pulling the trigger on some things and saying, okay, instead of doing magic, I'm just going to instead start doing mentalism. And then I would phase the magic out completely.
But like, what does, if you're allowed to go into it, like the day-to-day look like when somebody's learning mentalism?
Depends what you're learning. So it's the same way of like, what is a day-to-day of an MMA fighter, right? It's like, because you're learning mixed martial arts. Well, how do you quantify that? Well, it's a bit of a couple things. It's learning basics. It's rehearsing the basics. Then maybe step 2, it's like, how do you then combine basics? But another part of that is the training and the sparring and the learning and the what happens when this happens.
Right.
I couldn't teach you that. You have to try it. You have to do it. You have to go do it. And so there's a lot of that. So you're just, maybe one can say you're fucking up for 4 years. I don't know. You're just trying things and not being successful for a long time. And then eventually you've done it enough that you know what to do in certain situations.
But a lot of it has to also be controlling your heartbeat, no? Like, I feel like there is
all of it, yeah. Controlling your heartbeat, controlling how you are, controlling your everything. Which is why there's so many different. That's why I said it's like mixed martial arts. Yeah. It's like that's just part of what you're doing. And so again, it's to tell you that here I'm going to teach you how to do it. It's just so many things. It's like somebody. Can you just quickly how do you teach me teach me right now mixed martial arts? It's like I can't teach you the whole mixed martial. Mentalism is that it's mixed martial arts. So to teach you the mentalism is what part do you want to learn? There's just, at this point, I can teach you how to throw a punch. You know?
Right,
I can teach you one part of something.
Right, and that's what I think I find interesting is like, and I've had a bunch of UFC fighters. I have a bunch of UFC fighter friends. So like I always, when I go to the gym with them, like I'll see them, they'll do like, they'll do their boxing for 30 minutes and they'll do their jiu-jitsu and then if they have to spar that, whatever, right? But like, and those are things that I see.
Yeah. So you're asking what do mentalists do like this?
Right. So like, I'm just thinking like on a day, say you're a couple years in and you don't have anything booked that day and you're just trying to learn or get like what
you're reading theory for I find this is my, at this point, this is like any MMA fighter. This is your own recipe. So, this is what I did. I became obsessed with theory because I understood that theory, if you just can get enough, I felt that I felt comfortable enough performing. So I once was told, a guy named Bill Malone once said, if you know your thing well enough, then you can, that hard and all that comfortability, then you'll be comfortable. But you have to know the thing. So once I know the thing, meaning I know that I'm going to do a Rubik's Cube thing. So for example, okay, here's another example. If I'm going to do something with a Rubik's Cube, then it takes that I learn the Rubik's Cube. Okay. Then I know that part of my mentalism job is I need to know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. It has nothing to do with mentalism, but part of the effect that I'm going to do consists that I solve a Rubik's Cube, because eventually, let's say I want to convince them that they can solve one or whatever. So I solve it, let's say, and then now, as far as the mentalism is concerned, you're right. This is a part I have a hard time dealing with, which is how you can't practice it. In the same way that you can't, well, MMA you can practice punching, but see, in that case, it does fall, the example falls apart because there's no punches in mentalism. Right. And so even in conversation with other mentalists, Darren Brown said in an interview, he's a big mentalist, very famous on Netflix. Darren Brown, I think, said, sorry, wow, I just thought, lost the train of thought. Where were we? What was I explaining?
The kind of like the training of it.
The training of it. And that there is no training. And so they were asking him, how do you put these Broadway shows together? Because he was on Broadway. He does the theater district out in London. How do you practice these mentalism things? And of course he says you really can't. Like, you kind of work together with a team. So usually mentalists, and you will have a team of people and trustees, right? And so we'll run it with each other, kind of. But the answer is you try it in places you're okay with failing, maybe the expectation is not very high, or you didn't even tell them that you're trying anything. You're just like, let me just try this thing. And you do that, and you do that, and you do that. It's the same way you would play chess. Chess, and it's funny, I like both combat sport, and I love chess as well. I find that in chess, once you learn the basics, which comes from book, which is, again, chess is a better example to what I'm saying, which is the way you get best at chess is once you've learned the basics like openings, realistically, you can just play enough. And if you're playing enough, you'll start to pick up certain things, and you'll know that if they do this, you do this. If you do this, they're going to probably do one of these three things. You know what I mean? And so it gets difficult. Yeah, they have, so yeah.
In the beginning, when you're first kind of coming up with a new act, if you will.
Act is the whole thing. Effect is one thing. So which one would you say?
Like an effect.
Gotcha.
And it fails, but you're obviously not trying to show that. Maybe in like the beginning years. Would you have like...
Or last night, right? We had a bad show.
Oh, really?
Bad show last night. It never normally happens, but...
Like in that moment, do you have like a backup to if... Do you always have a backup?
For the most part. Almost 100% of the time. It's hard to say that now because yesterday, like I said, it really did catch me off guard. It's not that he didn't. What happened was all my backups, for some reason, just were not like nothing. Well, I'll tell you the story because this is a question I get asked all the time, especially if they've seen me get it right so many times. People then start to question, dude, do you ever get it wrong? I normally, and if I get something wrong, just wait. Because I'm going to then mess your mind up even more. So that's like usually the thing, right? Like if I've somehow gotten something wrong, you are even worse. Like I am going to do something even more crazy, usually. In this case, I did this thing with this guy. It's the first thing I'm doing in this big show that I did last night. And, the first thing's just not working with him, right? But at this point, nobody knows what's happening. So no one is none the wiser, right? So this is why people don't know if it's working. I will know if this guy is the guy that I need to. So he is not following what I need him to follow. And I am like, now the problem is my team's on the side. They realize this immediately. They're wondering, why doesn't he just abort and go to somebody else? But the thing is that like, I had done something where I had everybody involved already. And he's the guy that I can influence at this moment, right? And anyway, long story short, it was not working. I had to abandon that effect, but I could not abandon him because I already chosen him. So I said, okay.
But what was wrong with him?
Too high.
Oh, well, we were doing it in a venue where they were smoking and there was edibles, and exactly. So I did not realize maybe it just hit him way too strong. He is now in like pure, just like, I don't know, not thinking correctly. Remember what I said? The worst people are. If he was a skeptic, oh, love it, perfect, be a skeptic, but don't be a person like he didn't even know what was going on in a way. So and then afterwards, what was it? Then I go, I have to come back from this. So do I have any back? I can amaze people in so many different ways. I'm not lacking that. I'm like, give me your phone. Fucking unlock it right now. Right? Took his phone. I have to go through my little process with them, but I go quickly through it, which is a problem. But I'm going quickly because this is only a plan B. Usually, when I do it as a plan A and I'm unlocking, I have to take my time. I could do it correctly. But now it's a plan B, which means I'm rushing it. So now I'm rushing the process, which I need the process to get the password right, connecting with this person, getting it. I connect with them. I said, do you have your phone, right? He goes, yeah, but there's no lock on it. So I'm like, well, how am I going to show that? I was like, fine, I'm going to write down the password. So I'm going to write down the password, right? Showed it to the people first, the audience. I say, all right, now verify, because I'm not letting him see what I've written. Let's see if I got it right. I wrote down what I think your password is. What's the first? He says 6. Fair enough, there's a 6. Everybody's now, okay, Devonte's not messing this up. This is what I'm used to. If anything goes wrong, I say, what's the next one? 9, got it right. The next one, 6, got it right. And I say, what's the last number? He goes, 2. I had 8. I look at him and I go, is he fucking with me? Because sometimes I go, nah, if I go with you, it is 8, right? He goes, no, it's 2. Now everybody's like, oh, dude, like, what's going on? And then I show him and I'm like, so it's not 6, 9, 6, 8. He goes, nope, sorry. His wife's in the front seat, in the front row. She looks up and she goes, why are you lying to him? And everybody hears it, right? And everybody goes, and he goes, well, it's because I have 2 passwords and I have he said I have 6 numbers in my password. But earlier he had like, whatever. And the point is everybody was just like, oh, what the So look, things happen, right? Like, usually I'm almost 99.99% prepared, but this is this is boxing as Max Kellerman. This is boxing. Like this is anything can happen. This is real interactions with people. These are not robots. I am not in control of their mind at full at full capacity.
And what would have happened if his wife wasn't there?
So I'll tell you what's happened. Now, 2 things have happened. Yesterday, I don't actually know if he was trying to mess me up because I actually don't like, because after end, people were like really upset at this guy. His wife didn't speak to him through the entire show. She was convinced he was trying to be an asshole. Now, what happened is this, because I've done this long enough. Let me tell you another story, exact same effect, where it wasn't a backup thing. It was actually, I was doing it correctly. I tell this story a lot actually, because it's one of the ones that stick out. This is actually, I could tell you an amazing story. It's happened twice.
Okay.
One time that has created a legend for me. For me. And the other one that almost like got me sued or fucking probably killed somewhere. I did a show. I'll tell you the bad one first. One time I do a show wait, should I tell you the good one first? I don't know. No, I'll tell you this one first. So I go to do an event for these 12 like executives. These are very, very wealthy men. It's just 12. There's not a lot of people. It's just like them at a table. They've rented out this entire like restaurant to themselves. They flew in on private jets. They are all celebrating this big acquisition. I'm not allowed to say what this big $1 billion acquisition, right? It's very important people, right? I am already very, very nervous, right? Not nervous about what I do. Just like that, these guys, they're very like Jay. They've seen everything. They've probably had Copperfield fucking like just do their kid's birthday. Right. Like they have seen everything. So I'm like, okay, so let me see your phone. Now I go into my phone thing and I'm gonna unlock your phone. So now there's a thing where I first get what I think it is from them. This is what I think. I will take their phone and what I will do, this is a secret I don't let. Sometimes I'll just to make sure, I'll just quickly check to see if I'm correct.
Oh.
And instead of putting myself on the line, showing them and me, and then getting it wrong, so I'll sometimes check. And what I'm thinking he's thinking is not working. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to put his phone down. So I'm like, I'm just going to write what I think. I write what I think. All his friends are looking at what I write except him. And I say it. What is the number? At the time, it was like, whatever, 8285. It said, no, and then it said 8285. Correct. 8285, everybody applause. Nothing wrong. I had written it down, 8285. But remember, I already tried that on the phone. I know it doesn't work. So I'm thinking to myself, I go, open the phone. So he goes, 8285, and it doesn't open. He goes, 8285, it doesn't open. 8285, it doesn't open. He goes, all right, you're going to have to stop fucking around. Gives it to me. He goes, change my password back. And I go, I am only reading what you thought of.
Oh.
I don't know what your password is. Like, I genuinely don't know what your password. I only know what you're thinking of, and that's the number you're thinking of. Yes, yeah, that's my password. Are you calling me stupid? No, I didn't, sir. I didn't call you stupid. I'm just saying that that's what I read. All right, but you better open this fucking phone right now, because the amount of business and I'm like, sir, and now you have this guy that I've done all these things he can't explain. So how am I supposed to explain that? That I can't. I'm like, I don't know how to explain to you that you forgot your own password, but I can't say that to you because that's disrespectful to you. Because like, how am I gonna make you feel? You're a CEO of a fucking $1 billion company, but you forgot your password, bro. The entire thing, it's like nothing's getting better. He calls his wife. He's like, babe. He's like, you won't believe. Like, this guy's like, this is this. Long story short, she goes, babe, that's the iPad password. That's for your iPad. It's not your phone password. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because he uses his Face ID for the phone, so he never really goes and puts a number. Oh my God, I was just like, this guy. So this happens a lot where, this eventually created a really cool legend story for me, which is, now people will say like, oh, he changes your password. And it's not that I changed your password. It's that people will have sometimes a brain fart, or they'll forget, or outguess a number, but they thought it was something. This happens a lot, by the way. When that happens, then it's not that I can unlock their phone. See, a lot of people think like, oh, you're a hacker. No, I don't know anything about a phone. If I did, I could have opened his phone. I can only know what you think of. I deal with the mind, not with the phone, right? So like, right. To me, actually, I don't need a phone. I can just write it down. It's more impressive if you see me put it in and it goes, that's a visual. People like that. People go, oh, wow, he really did it. As a performer, these are the kind of things I take note of, right? As a performer, in my eyes, I can do, it's the same thing. I unlocked your phone. What does it matter if I did it for real or I wrote it down? I know your password. But as a performer, I've realized, well, there's a different impact one has when one writes it down versus one unlocks it. So these are the kind of things that also are part of this MMA that I've talked about, this sort of mixed mentalism arts.
That's good.
Yeah.
It really is like that. Well, chess and MMA, I think chess was a good one too.
They're exactly like mentalism. I mean, they are the best. I mean, and because I've never done MMA, but I've done boxing for over 10 years. And so I very much understand sort of the idea of discipline and the idea of what one might look at as fighting versus what fighters know fighting is, which is a thinking man sport, right? So fighting from the outside perspective looks like random punches, but from a Mayweather perspective, it is not random punches at all. And so the reason people think it's gonna, oh man, there's gonna be one punch he doesn't see coming. It's like, well, that's a very naive way of looking at boxing, because if you know anything about boxing, it's not saying that can't happen. Right. Of course, anything can happen, but it's more likely that it's not going to happen because of the amount of times he's seen that kind of punch coming. He's seen other guys just like him, overconfident, over-swinging, over this. So you're not anything new. Same thing with chess. You might have your aggressive player. Well, yeah, if you've never played chess, an aggressive player that's taking pieces and doing things that you've never seen. He's moving the left piece first, but eventually you can see through it.
So how do you continue to develop as a mentalist?
More.
But can
you do it more? How do you do it with MMA and chess? I say you play more games.
Yeah, but I could argue that in boxing or in MMA, right? The way that you get better is it's a lot of different things, right?
But I can answer your question. You do it by blocking. You do it by blocking, meaning so your performance has to get better. So what I just said here, you need to look at your performance and realize, it's better done when I unlock their phone versus when I write it. Oh, it's better that I choose a woman in this case, not a man, because they're going to give me a little bit more resistance when I do this. Oh, and so you start fine tuning, and then what you're doing there is I say you're also now maneuvering the entire show.
But how do you improve the manifestation of the mentalism? So
by what I just said, which is the outer. It's just the basics.
But what you just described is like, okay, when I'm doing, say, the phone effect, it's doing it as opposed to writing down whatever, right? But how do you create a completely
different one? Okay, good answer, good question. The answer is that as much as I wish I was the one coming up with them, I think most of the time, most of us are going to creators. So they're already big creators in the mentalism space. let's be honest, the creators, even in the mentalism space, aren't creating anything new. Mentalism, for the most part, is only like 3 things. I mean, you're guessing what they're thinking, you're influencing something, I mean, and you're predicting something. Everything falls under that effect. So as far as
there's so many different ways to do that.
yes,
Well,
so
I think.
yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No, there are, but the effect, a mentalist really doesn't have a lot of effects. A magician has, specifically in magic, they're called the 8 effects. So in magic, there's only 8 effects, by the way. So it's like transportation, vanish, restoration. So there's only like 8 things that are considered magic. Mentalism, I think there only has to be like, I think 4. Prediction, like reading someone's mind, which is different than prediction. So I can predict what you're going to say before you say it. I can have you think of something and then tell you. Maybe you can, a lot of mentalists will add telekinesis in there. So if you start moving objects or if anything that's, object related or manipulating the movement of an object or the something of an object, those all things would fall under mentalism. So I would say, sorry, because I think we're still trying to figure out like what can these day-to-day, what are these, where are we finding these new effects?
How do you continue pushing the boundaries?
For me, I push it through the theory, not the effect. Maybe most mentalists actually would do it through the effect. That's actually where most people go first. I almost feel like I'm less about the effect and more about the connecting and the theorizing and how to take this and make something of it. If I can take Zumbita, who had a ball and vase, I've realized it just almost never has to do with that.
Right.
Yes, you have to become good at boxing, right? But what makes Mayweather great is not his, I mean, he does a great jab, but it's not the jab, it's his mind.
Right.
It's what he does. So like that.
What he does and what in the moments that he does it.
Yes. So to me, I'm getting better consistently, but I'm doing it indirectly. But I know that it's feeding right into it. And I do it by being more social, by being around people, by being more of a student of people, by getting myself into more situations that are uncomfortable for me, whether it's a different culture or race or space or whatever. And so those are the things strengthening. That's the running for the mentalist. At least for me, it is. That's the jabbing, just at the bag for 100 times. Because once you're in front of the person, like you said, and you said correctly earlier, it has so much to do with your comfortability, your breathing, how you're acting in front of this person when you're doing what you're doing. That can't be practiced. What can be practiced is these other disciplines.
What's the ultimate, end goal for you as a brand?
To become a household name for mentalism. I think that maybe for mentalism is just into that. I think I'd like to believe that we can do more than just mentalism, opening it up to the world. I think you said earlier mentalism might be the vehicle for me. But the goal, I think, is to become a household name, that when you think of mentalism, you think of Devonte and what we've done, and this idea of bringing hope to people.
Are there people that you currently mentor that are trying to become mentalists? Or your
dad?
Oh, yeah, your dad.
It's the only one, my dad.
But do people, I'm sure that there has to have been some people that ask you.
All the time, yeah. My April Fool's joke this year was that I'm going to start an online course teaching everybody everything. Yeah, I get asked that all the time. I'm not ready yet. I think there's, again, if you're interested enough, you'll find people. They're very hard to find, but that's what it needs anyway. So I'm not willing to necessarily hide or make the thing so hard. So if you want to be a mentalist, you will find the way. Trust me. It's especially with the internet, you can find, and all that will be needed of you is your dedication and your curiosity.
Okay, I have a couple questions that I might save for the end. You probably get mad annoyed, but do you think there's one thing, because we were talking about it a little earlier in planning and looking at the cameras, is there one kind of effect or thing that we can do with the little box that you have?
Which box?
The case that.
Oh no, yeah, we could do something.
We'll do one on air.
Yeah.
Because I still haven't been privy to this yet.
Normally, let me see. What I wanted to do, here, we'll do predictions here. It's like a little setup here. We'll start off like this. So we'll do a little 10-minute performance for you.
Okay.
do this first. I'll show this to the screen.
That's your cam.
What up, Cam? All right, so let's.
For people listening, Devonte has 2 decks of cards, a Rubik's Cube, a piece of paper that I gave him,
Yes.
and note cards that, in between the note cards.
Do you have any cards? Do you have any? Do you have any decks of cards or
None.
a Rubik's Cube? 'Cause
None.
that would then make it perfect.
No, I don't.
Because then if you were able to do that, then everything comes from you.
No,
and that would actually be
no.
better.
This I can.
Like
do
even this,
you want me
we
to?
don't even need this. Like,
Okay,
if
wait.
we could just have stuff that you
Wait,
gave
so-
me, it would be even better.
Can I inspect?
Yeah, of course. Check. Everything will naturally be examinable because that's the way I work.
I'm skeptical. Trust issues.
But then I
right
want
here.
this to be part of the effect, though. If we're gonna,
sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we're doing it now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
We can.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that you wanted
No.
That's perfect. But these are all different. These are all. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And close. Actually, here let's. What I wanted to do was see if you can choose like one of like we were gonna do 3 different things. So we can do something with a Rubik's Cube, we'll do something with a deck of cards, and we're gonna do something with this. Basically, what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But we'll do it like this. Actually, here, all 52. Can you see all 52 different cards?
Yeah.
Actually, it's much better if you hold on to them. Take them in your hand, and you look at them. Or actually, before anything, hold them face down.
Face down.
Face down. And give the cards a cut, and then put a packet on the bottom.
Mom, can I do it under here?
Yeah, but just show so I can see that you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, like.
Cut and complete. Done. But you had a better idea, which is to do it under the table. So do it under the table, and you're not just gonna do it once. So right now, just cut once, for example. Cut in half, or not, or whatever.
Okay.
Yes. And now, cut again. Why not? It's your life.
Okay.
Maybe if you want again, or you can bluff me. You can act like you do it, but you don't. It's your life. Anything is possible. Whatever you want to do, right now, I want you to take, whenever you hold the cards together, even if there was a camera right here on the top of my head, I can't see anything, but
it's under the table for people
under the
listening.
table,
It's under the table.
there's no way that even, and you have it like gripped claws,
Oh,
right?
like claws.
Look, right now, I want you to, if you say the top card, maybe somebody can say, oh, he maybe saw the top card. Or maybe what is more discreet, the top card or the card all the way at the bottom? What would you say is the hardest card to see, let's say?
Top card.
Right now, take the top card and literally slide it right under your lap or right under your leg. Don't let anyone see it. You've done this.
Yes.
So you've rid yourself of several things. First, you saw all the cards. You know that they're all different.
Yeah.
The cards are shuffled by you under the table. You made sure that I didn't even know if you shuffled a little, a lot. You could have bluffed me. I don't know. You then took a card that you chose. I think you could have been the bottom one. It could have been the top. It could have been anyone.
Right.
Take the rest of the cards come out, and describe this to everybody. The deck will stay. No, but leave it here. The deck will stay on the table the entire time.
Okay.
I don't want to go through the cards. Nothing like this. Right in front of us. You have no idea what the card is.
Here, am I allowed to
Yeah.
touch it?
You actually control everything.
Okay, so for people, let's put on closer to my cam so people can
Put it right in front of you, actually. Cool. That's better. The point is, I don't want to touch anything. You don't know your card, so this can't be mind reading. So this specifically falls under, maybe you can say, reading people, reading how they cut, how they shuffle, maybe what card they. I would say that you would have cut and then taken out the. You would have taken out the. It's a black card. It's a spades. It's a queen of spades. For the first time, take out the card.
Which camera am I showing?
First you look and then show it.
Wait, which one? What did you say?
Queen of spades.
Queen of spades.
Show it to the camera.
Fucking.
Now, because I'm a skeptic myself, I'd immediately grab all those cards and make sure there's no other Queen of Spades. All different.
You know, even show.
All different. Now watch this here. Put the card all different. I want to try this. Put the card whatever. Put the card on the bottom right now.
Can I do it on the table?
Yeah, put the card on the bottom. But actually start again. So cut the cards in half. cut them in half. Yes.
Can I do it again?
Yeah. Cut them again.
Can I do it as many times as I want?
Yeah, cut them again in half. Yeah, and then the rest of the cards you can come up.
Do I take another one?
No. Oh, you want to? Nah. Well, let's try something different.
Okay.
I don't want to. Then we just keep doing the same thing. People have seen it over and over. Wait, did you take out a card or no?
No.
You didn't take one out.
Oh,
so then,
supposed to take one?
No, it's up to you. Did you? You didn't want to.
I didn't.
Then let's try this. We will take. Let's take about or instead of me counting, maybe it's better that you count. It could be. Yep. You take the cards, but take them and put them like this. In the camera, so everybody can see. Go like this. You can cut again. Cut again. Actually, this is good. Did you just cut?
Yeah.
Right now, you're gonna do 3 things.
Okay.
One, you've made the rules. You said, "Can I cut again?"
Yeah.
Do you want to cut one more time, or are you happy there?
I'm happy there. I'm happy there.
It's your life. One more is no. Okay.
No.
3 cards that you're not gonna see. I want you to let's do it different. This time, right now, you decide. Listen to me. Leave the cards under the table. You've cut how you wanted. You shuffled the cards even earlier. Right now, don't even tell me. It could be the card on top or it could be the card all the way at the bottom.
Okay.
And you're going to take that card, you're going to flip it face up, and you're going to stick it anywhere you want in the middle.
Oh, okay. So it's either the top one or the bottom
Right now, either the top card or the card all the way at the bottom. Don't tell me, just do it. Take a card, flip it over, place it inside. Cool?
Hold on.
Take your time. You could do it behind your back if you'd like, if that'd be better for you. However you'd like. Cool.
And put it somewhere, anywhere.
Put it face up in the middle.
Put it face up in the middle.
Yeah.
And okay.
Because later we're basically going to spread, so have a nice review.
Okay.
That's all we're doing.
Okay.
You could put them under the leg, but then it's the same review.
Okay.
If you want to do the other 2 under your leg, does that make you feel a bit
So then I take
more
and then,
secure?
so now I took from, I'm not gonna tell you the top or the bottom.
Right.
And I've taken another 2.
So right now, how many altogether? I was only going to be 3 cards altogether, but I don't know how many cards you've taken.
I took one, and I
from somewhere, top or bottom, and then
I put it in the middle.
Okay.
So now what do I have to do with the other 2?
At this point, it's your trick. So you want whatever you want to do. If you want to put them in the middle, these next 2, or you want to sit on them, it's your life.
And I can take them again from either the
right
top
now.
or the
Don't even tell me. The next 2 can come right from the top. Maybe one comes from the top. Maybe one comes from the bottom.
Okay, you know what? Okay, then I'm gonna do something.
even tell me.
And I'm gonna put both under my leg.
Whatever you want.
Do I have to look at them?
Don't even look at them.
Okay. So now I only remember 1, and I have 2 that I don't know under my leg.
Yes.
Okay.
Make sure the cards are nice. And wait, because you put it face up.
I put it face up.
So then turn everything face down. So just in case you peek at and make sure it's nice and squared off.
So you're
and the rest of the cards
so
can
when I put it down, you're gonna have something face up.
Something face up, but I don't know what it is
Right.
because
It's
it's
just the top
irrelevant.
card.
Yeah, I don't know how many
Yep.
cards you've taken face up, whatever. Or actually, yeah, put it. You can just put them in. Yep.
Can I do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now let me ask you a question. Wait.
So for people who are listening,
can they see?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you were saying?
I put 1 card under my leg, I put 1 card in there.
Yes.
That I know.
Yes.
Then I took 2 that are under my leg.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to spread these out though. So actually, here, you hold on to them because that's why they can't be in the box because you're gonna have to spread them out. Let me think. So it's better that you hold them. Take them out of the box.
Okay.
But either way, you have 2 that are under your leg.
Yes, correct.
That's the only thing that actually matters as well. But basically, we're gonna do one nice reveal. So the only thing I want you to do is make sure that card, whatever you flipped over, is still face down.
Well,
this
it is.
This is irrelevant.
Because it's in the middle of the...
Yeah. So hold the cards like this, face up, because you're gonna... Yeah. Because right now, your card is face
down.
Down. That card in there is face down.
Yep.
Put your hand on top. Don't spread them. Good. And even if you do, I won't see. 3 cards you took. You have 2 under your leg. You would have cut. You would have shuffled. You would have went 2. You would have went 1 from here. You would have went. Okay. I would then say that the first one Okay, the 10 of hearts. Then, no, you went, okay, okay, I see. Okay, you also wanted the ace of diamonds. And then you took out the four of spades. Okay, so the four of spades, the seven of, no, wait, the ace of diamonds, the four of spades, and the 10 of hearts. 10 of hearts, ace of diamonds, four of spades. Did we get all of that? Can we remember that? What was that?
10 of hearts.
10 of hearts. Ace of diamonds.
Ace of diamonds.
Four of spades.
Okay, now what?
Spread this. Spread it. Everybody can see these are all different cards. Right? Can everybody see?
Yeah, hold on. Let's put it even over.
So this is why I like the visual. So everybody can see that, because I know what people are thinking. How do they know? Look, flip this card over.
There's the
I said the first one would be the 10, yes? And that's the
hearts.
one you put.
It's 10 of hearts.
Yes. And then I said the next two that you would go after is the ace of diamonds and the four of spades. Show the ones under your leg.
Ace of diamonds.
Four of spades.
Bro.
And as everybody can be left with all the evidence, there is not one other duplicate. There's no other ace of diamonds. There's no other four of spades.
Fuck.
Yo, that actually fucked me up, bro.
Yo.
I can't.
So this is inspired by my mentors. This is more than just a card trick, obviously. This is all person connecting. This has nothing to do with sleight of hand.
Okay, can I tell you what I was thinking when I knew, because the only one I knew was a 10 of hearts, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a moment where you had a doubt, but you had a doubt if there was a 10 of hearts.
I didn't know, because you had said so many. So you had said, oh, I took one, I took two. So there I was like, I don't know if you had followed exactly what I said. Because originally I wanted you to put 3 cards face up. But you had said, yeah, so. And this is also part of what I do, which is I'm rolling with the punches just as much as you are, right? Because you're throwing different things at me. Let me cut one more. No, I don't want to cut. So this is part of the dance I'm talking about. This isn't you're not a robot. You're not.
All right, what about this Rubik's Cube?
Well, this one is not actually magic or even, let me see. Have you ever solved a Rubik's Cube before?
No.
Never? So what's the fastest have you ever seen maybe somebody solve a Rubik's Cube, let's say?
Pretty fast.
Like how fast?
Well, honestly, I don't know. Maybe I've probably seen videos of somebody doing like 30, 60, 10, 20, 30, 60 seconds.
Have you ever seen somebody do it with one hand?
Yeah, your Instagram.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you that right now. And so a lot of people think that it's some sort of like button that I'm pressing or something, because it happens so quickly. I wanted to show you up here close in person so you can see that it's actually happening.
Can I?
And so the same thing, for example, if I said to you, here, mix this up, for example.
Can I
mix this up as much as you can. Yeah, of course. Now, have you ever solved one?
No, I don't know.
I want to teach you something about solving a Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
And actually, I'll show you that first before we get into this.
Okay.
Mixed up, right? So let's say, this is what everybody knows. And I'll teach you this so that you can appreciate what's about to happen.
Okay.
So you can appreciate it. If I said, for example, do you know how to solve it all or no?
No idea.
So when most people just look at a Rubik's Cube, for the most part, they're just thinking, whatever, it's just mixed. No. Every center has a very specific color that doesn't duplicate. So for example, if I see one red here, I know there's no other center with a red. I don't have to look. I know there isn't. So these are little pieces. What you're looking for is something amazing. But to get to the amazing part, you must first understand why this is even amazing. So have you ever seen people solve them quickly? Yeah. It's because they're studying the cube first.
Okay.
So I don't know if you ever see, they get to see the cube, then they put it down, and they're formulating how they're going to get to this end in their mind. So they mix it, then they study, and then they try to solve.
Right.
If that makes sense. Any cube can be solved because of the way that I said the pieces, because all the pieces are already where they are. So this is let me just show you the slow.
Before you do it though, can I mix it before?
Yeah, I'm actually solving it slowly. So I'm just showing you how it works.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just showing you how it works.
But before you do it with one hand.
Yeah. So slowly it would work something more like, obviously here I'm just creating, I'll do it a little bit quicker because it gets boring. But trying to create this thing called the white cross. So all I'm doing here, and this is again a little bit slower way, the way that most people would learn it, is just this little white cross. You see that? Mm-hmm. But there's something that I can see that you can't see, which is that it's connected to this little corner, this little center here. which lets me know it's on the right side. Anyway, I'm going to save you the Rubik's Cube lesson. But to me, when I first learned Rubik's Cube, I thought maybe there's some sort of maybe, I don't know, maybe some sort of trick. Nope. It's literally you just studying the actual cube. And when I first learned it, this is the way I first learned it. Just putting side by side together, something like, let's say, I don't know, something like this. It can go on. The point is this, I'm actually not going to solve it because I don't want to take too much time. You said you wanted to mix it, but I want you to do something even better. You're going to mix this under the fucking table. Wait. Let's do this even better. Let's both do this. I'm going to mix and you're going to mix. Both under the table. I will finish first and you will continue mixing.
Can I look at it?
Nope. Oh, well, you can look at yours, yeah.
Okay.
I actually will not touch mine from this moment on.
Okay.
Wait, no. Go under. Now, without looking, or fuck it, with looking. I've never done it with somebody looking, but we'll try it. Mix up right now. Keep mixing. As a matter of fact, mix it to the point where you say to yourself, this is really mixed up.
That's what I'm trying.
There's no way I'm going to give him. I'm not going to give him the corners. I'm not going to give him the white cross, nothing.
All right, I'm there.
Yeah? And whenever you want, place it right down. If even one of these sides matched, the randomness, I don't know, should I show it to the camera here?
Yeah.
If even one of these sides matched, that wouldn't make any sense at all. Yes, can you see this?
No way,
But
bro.
if they all match,
Bro. Nah.
that wouldn't make any sense.
Nah. Bro, what? No way.
Now, you said this is the most mixed. So, look, let me just get rid of one. I'll put it, you know what, here. I'll put it completely away because I don't want anybody to think, oh, he switched it with the other one. We're going to completely, and we're not going to, look, no, I need this to be seen all time.
Yep.
This has not been switched out. We just got rid of one.
Yeah, you just put one down.
This is still the one that, one of the exact ones that you've mixed. Yes?
Just so people are listening.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you gotta watch it because
Yeah. And now I'm going to try to do this thing of putting it together with one hand. Watch. Actually, count to 10 almost like you're looking at a clock. So don't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep.
Is that a legit cube? That's real? I'm not
Yep.
pressing a button. This is for real.
You show them on yours.
So this is what I do.
Damn. Well, that has me all fucked up.
So again, this still not necessarily mentalism, right? Close to it, dealing with people, working with them, but it's still more based on my ability to use a prop or something. But what if it was just the mind?
Okay.
Then this is a little bit more. But of course, it's not anytime just the mind because we have to get this idea into reality somehow. So I'll write something down. As a matter of fact, here I'll write this down.
Wait, have I already?
Have you seen it?
No.
Good. Even better. So I've written something down. This is my prediction. You gave me this paper, by the way.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I was going to use my own, but you wanted to use better. I thought you said, oh, he has his own. But I ran it this to be legit. That this is your paper. It would have been even better if it was your marker. But they've already seen what I wrote, I think. Close your eyes. Don't look. This would be a prediction for everybody else. Okay. Everybody saw it. Put your hand on top of this. You can bring it close to yourself. And now, if I said to you to think of a number between 1 and 100, the first number that comes to your mind, it's
19.
Do you feel that most people say this number? Or this is random because I want you to see this. Look here. Open up the notes. And describe to everybody what's happening. So you're opening up the
All right,
notes.
so
Do this slowly.
I'm on Devonte's phone.
Yes.
I have my hand on a piece of paper that I haven't seen. He wrote something down. So I'm opening up. Do you want me?
Explain and you do your thing, yeah.
So I'm opening up his notes app.
And the first thing says,
New list.
yep, and then
Commonly selected cards.
what else?
Top 100 greatest movies of all time.
Okay, what else?
Beverages.
No, what else?
Celebrities.
Let's do celebrities. Open up the celebrities. Real quick. 100 different names. Who's number 1?
50 Cent.
Let's go with somebody random. Who's number 5?
P. Diddy.
But you said number 19. You didn't say 18. Who's 18?
18 is Drake.
You said 19. Who'd you say?
Who did I say?
Well, actually, you haven't said it yet. Actually, who is 19? Well, you said 19 though. But who's the person?
Tom Hanks.
The GOAT. No, Drake is the GOAT, but maybe Tom Hanks is also the GOAT. Take a look at what I wrote before anything.
Huh.
Number 19 was this random number you just said. Open this up.
Bro. Nah. Now I'm confused.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is a list of only 100 names. It's a list of only celebrities. What if this could have been done not just on my phone? Do you have your phone actually on you?
Yeah.
Take out your phone. Let's try this. Look, this may or may not work, but we'll try. How should I do this? Here, let's try. Open up your phone and what happened? Okay. Oh well, we'll try to do something. We'll try to make a prediction. Open up a brand new tab.
On what?
What do you use? Whatever you use.
Safari?
Safari. Let's use Safari. This time, the same exact thing. How I wrote Tom Hanks before anything. Let's try. I don't know if I could do a place. We can do many things here. Let's try this. If I said to you to go, and you can think of either, we could do a place, we could do a thing. Would a place be more interesting or an actual person that you actually know? Would a place, so you thinking of a place would be more interesting to you?
Yes.
It's interesting you say that though. Let's try this. Look, here's what we'll try. Here, open up Google and we'll write on this. The point is this. Go to Google and do this. So, I don't know if the camera see this way.
Show the camera.
So do you want to show the camera what you search, or do you want to keep that a surprise?
I want to show the camera what I searched.
I'll hide and everybody will believe that I'm not looking. So here, search this place. I don't want to see. I'm going to close.
All right, I'm going to get close to the camera for a second.
Okay. Make sure Cozy doesn't see. Write it in and actually hit search. I want you to actually see what you get.
Okay.
See what Google gives you. Maybe you can get even an image so you can get a visual on it. And then when you're ready, you can close out of it, lock the phone, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
I can look.
Can I delete the tab?
You can delete the tab.
Okay.
I can look.
Okay.
Yes?
And put it in my pocket.
And put it in your pocket.
Okay.
You've seen card tricks.
This is going to have me fucked up.
A little bit. You've seen card tricks. You've seen tricks with Tom Hanks. You've seen I don't know what the Rubik's Cube by there, but
So for people listening at home, I Googled a place in the world, and then I X'd out while they weren't looking. This I can 100% confirm.
So how do you know if you got the spot correct?
well, I'm gonna
can look at-
I'll write it down first.
You can look at. How about I'm gonna bring back the.
No, don't bring anything back.
Okay.
We'll trust you. You've already shown them.
Yeah, and they've seen.
They've already seen. They've seen. We'll try. Well, actually, I kind of want to look at me. All right, maybe this will work this way. OCD with some things. Look at me. Just to see where I'm going with this. What is the first letter? Just tell me, is this the first letter? We're doing good. Okay. The smile gives it away. Look at me.
Now I want you to finish the word.
This is what I'm thinking. I might have gotten it wrong. This is how I'm thinking of. For the first time, say it. What was the name?
Marseille. Nah. Nah, bro. Nah.
So that's what I do.
Yeah. Yep. I've been convinced. Well, I don't really got nothing to say. It's pretty fucking impressive. I don't know how else to say it. Damn. Fuck. Well, if you're listening to this, I highly recommend you watch it. Because I walked in and I was like, yo, I'm a skeptic. I'll figure, you know what probably everybody does, and myself included today? I'm not going to let him get me. And then, bam. Not going to be able to sleep. Damn. All right. So, to wrap things up. When people are going to remember you one day, how do you hope that they remember you?
I think I used to spend a lot of time thinking about stuff like that until I think I listened to Alex Hormozy, who said, you'd be surprised how little that's actually might happen. You know, it's very rare that people will forever speak about you. But I think I'm okay with knowing that my life was one that was used to bring hope. One who did it in a fashion, in the way that I did it with Mentalism. I mean, I think there's a lot of hope, that people that create hope, but in the way that we did it, with connecting with people, that we worked with people from all around the world, that we went from the slums of El Salvador and India, because we also worked in the red light district, to working with Google and the billionaires of the world and from everywhere. And so that I was of the people, that, that I had changed my life, that I had went from, this kid who wasn't born with all the resources and opportunities, and truly created magic with his own life, and thus giving others hope to do the same. And, living out my dreams, literally everything that I've ever wanted, and believing that that's possible, and believing that there's hope that it could happen.
Well, I want to tell you that, and I'm still recovering from my trip, but I think that there's moments, and I've been blessed to be, in the presence of a lot of very unique and very cool, different individuals, different fields. And, there's a lot of different things that I've been able to feel over the years in terms of, and again, I'm stripping aside the last 15 minutes, in terms of human to human, of people that bring in ego, people that bring in anger, people that bring in kindness, people that bring in generosity, people that are special, some people that, have done a lot of, have quote on paper been successful, but you don't feel that they might be a special human, and vice versa. I can really say, like, your approach, I think the thing that'll stick with me the longest, because I think it's a beautiful approach. Like what you do is not, and that's why I'm kind of almost curious to know like who the 21-year-old you version was when you were saying like it was about me. But I think that now it's clear that it's about something great, way bigger. It's about, those people that you can touch, and I know for me, like what I love doing or why I love doing this show is that I can take a little bit from every guest, and I can 100% say that I took something away from you, and that you touched me. If there's any person, just know that. So at least one, and I'm sure so many that I've, in experiences that you probably can't even imagine on your own. So I guess I just want to finish it with not just thank you, but also thank you for creating the hope for a lot of people, right? And thinking about the young kid that you were, and figuring out your why. Because I think a lot of people go through life and they don't figure out their why, and sometimes it takes their whole life to figure out their why. And maybe you're still figuring out your why, but I think that the answers to your why are they're beautiful answers, at least where they're at right now, and they might change over time.
Right.
So I just want to thank you for coming on, and this is such a cool thing for me too, because literally we were texting at like 11 a.m. I didn't expect that my day would end like this, and I'm so grateful that it did. And I'm so grateful that we met, and that we have the same management, and we have the same people around us, because we have good people. And yeah, man, thank you.
Thank you for having me, my brother. Thank you. And for everybody else, if they want to see what I'm up to, Devonte Magic, anywhere, YouTube, Instagram, mostly Instagram these days, Devonte, Devonte, because it's difficult to spell. But Devonte Magic, yeah. So, doing a lot more public shows these days. I'd love to bring this out into the world more, not just these private gigs and these high-paying events that I can do and I can talk about, but bringing it back to, like I said, the people. And so look out, if you hear this podcast or saw it, we might be in a city near you. So stay tuned.
Amazing. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, bro. Done.
Yes, sir. Amazing. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.